Toyota now sells electric cars in China using BYD technology because waiting became more dangerous than working with a rival. And that single decision tells us a lot about what is happening to the global car industry. Toyota built the Prius, dominated hybrids, and spent decades teaching the industry how efficient manufacturing should work. BYD started with batteries and, not that long ago, was still viewed outside China as an ambitious newcomer. Today, those two companies are developing cars together. So let's forget the dramatic headlines about Toyota losing to China and look at what actually happened, why Toyota needed BYD, what BYD gets in return, and why this partnership matters far beyond one electric Toyota. First, let's kill the biggest myth. BYD did not buy Toyota. Toyota did not buy BYD. And Toyota did not suddenly hand its entire engineering library to a Chinese competitor. This is a targeted partnership. Toyota and BYD first agreed to jointly develop battery electric vehicles for China, and in 2020 they went much further by creating BYD Toyota EV Technology, BTET, 50% Toyota, 50% BYD, roughly 300 employees at launch. Even the board was split equally between both companies. Its job was not simply to order batteries, it was created to develop electric vehicles, platforms, and related components. And honestly, that is much more interesting than a takeover. Two direct competitors looked at each other and basically said, "You have something we need. We have something you need. Let's work together," and continue fighting for the same customers afterwards. That is modern car manufacturing. This story becomes much more interesting when you look 20 years back. BYD was originally a battery company. Cars came later, and when BYD started producing vehicles, models like the early F3 became famous partly because people immediately compared the styling with cars such as the Toyota Corolla. Toyota was the established giant. BYD was learning the game. Fast forward roughly 15 years and the situation has flipped. BYD had spent those years investing aggressively in batteries, electric motors, power electronics, and plug-in vehicles. Meanwhile, China became the largest and probably the most brutally competitive EV market in the world. And suddenly, Toyota, the company BYD once appeared to imitate, wanted BYD technology inside a Toyota. That doesn't mean BYD suddenly became better than Toyota at making cars. It means BYD became extremely good at one area Toyota urgently needed, building competitive EV technology cheaply and quickly. And Toyota realized that pretending otherwise would cost more than admitting it. Toyota obviously knew how to electrify cars. It had already spent decades building hybrids. The Prius alone proved Toyota understood batteries, electric motors, energy recovery, and complex powertrain control long before EVs became fashionable. The problem was different. China changed insanely quickly. Chinese buyers weren't simply asking for an economical car anymore. They wanted EV range, fast charging, huge screens, connected services, voice control, sophisticated driver assistance, and constant software improvements, while still expecting aggressive pricing. And Chinese manufacturers were releasing new products at a speed that made traditional 5 to 7 year product cycles look ancient. Toyota's traditional strength is refinement. Develop it, test it, improve it, test it again, then launch it when you are confident it works. That philosophy is one reason Toyotas last. But in China, Toyota discovered the downside of being extremely careful. Sometimes the market moves before you finish testing. Toyota could have spent years building every part of its Chinese EV ecosystem itself. But every year spent doing that meant another year of Chinese customers buying BYD, Geely, Li Auto, Xiaomi, or another local brand, and getting used to them. Money wasn't Toyota's biggest problem. Toyota has money. You cannot buy back lost time. So rather than spending years reinventing something BYD already had working, Toyota bought itself a shortcut. That shortcut became BYD. The clearest example is the Toyota BZ3. This is where saying it's basically a BYD with a Toyota badge becomes too simplistic. Toyota officially says the BZ3 was jointly developed by Toyota, BTET, and FAW Toyota. It uses Toyota's ETNGA architecture, and Toyota worked heavily on battery structure, cooling, control, safety monitoring, and vehicle integration. But the LFP battery technology comes from BYD. Toyota itself says that directly, and BYD's Blade Battery solved an important packaging problem. LFP, lithium iron phosphate, is not magical chemistry. It generally gives you lower energy density than some nickel-rich alternatives, but it offers excellent thermal stability, strong cycle life, and avoids nickel and cobalt. BYD's clever part was packaging. Instead of building cells into modules and then putting those modules into a bigger pack, its Blade concept uses long, thin cells and a more direct cell-to-pack structure, less wasted space, thinner battery packaging, lower cost. And that matters enormously when you're trying to build a sedan. A thick battery makes the floor taller. A taller floor pushes the seats higher, then the roof needs to move up. Suddenly, your elegant electric saloon starts looking like an SUV because you're basically sitting on a giant battery box. Toyota wanted an EV that was affordable without destroying passenger space. BYD already had an answer. The BZ3 ended up with a claimed maximum range above 600 kilometers on the Chinese CLTC test cycle. And yes, CLTC is optimistic, so don't read that as 600 real motorway kilometers in a British winter. But the car proved something much more important. Toyota could combine its vehicle engineering with Chinese battery technology and get a competitive product to market much faster. If BZ3 had been the only result, you could call the whole thing an experiment. It wasn't. Toyota later showed the BZ Sport crossover concept, developed together with BTET and FAW Toyota. That program eventually evolved into the production BZ5, which Toyota is now selling in China. Toyota China itself currently lists the BZ5 in its electric range, so this relationship clearly survived beyond one sedan. But here's another important point. Toyota is not simply handing its Chinese EV business to BYD. Toyota is doing almost the opposite. It is spreading its bets. The BZ3 and BZ5 involve BYD-related cooperation. The BZ3X was developed with GAC and Toyota's Chinese development organization instead. Toyota is also building more local Chinese R&D capability rather than treating China as a market where Japanese engineers simply send finished ideas. That tells us what Toyota's actual strategy looks like. Use BYD where BYD is strong. Use GAC and other local partners where they are strong. Keep Toyota engineering where Toyota is strong. Toyota isn't choosing one winner, it is building a network. And that feels much more like Toyota than surrendering to anybody. Toyota's benefit is obvious: speed, battery expertise, cost, access to technology already designed around Chinese EV customers. But what does BYD get? First, validation. Imagine you build battery technology and Toyota, possibly the most conservative major automaker in the world when it comes to protecting reliability, decides it is comfortable putting that technology inside a Toyota. That is a serious endorsement. Second, BYD gets to work directly alongside Toyota engineers. Toyota contributes things that don't look exciting in a TikTok video: manufacturing discipline, durability targets, vehicle integration, suspension tuning, quality assurance, and safety validation. Those things matter. BYD can learn from Toyota without Toyota giving BYD every secret it owns. And Toyota can learn from BYD without becoming BYD. That is why I don't see this partnership as one company saving another. It is a trade. Toyota brings decades of trust and manufacturing experience. BYD brings EV speed and vertical integration might be BYD's biggest advantage of all. BYD doesn't simply assemble cars from components bought everywhere else. The group controls batteries, electric motors, power electronics, and huge parts of its EV technology internally. That gives it control over cost and, crucially, development speed. If your battery department, motor department, and car division can move together, you can change products much faster. And right now, speed is one of the most valuable currencies in China. Now, step outside China, because this is where Toyota's decision starts looking even more interesting. In April 2025, BYD registered 7,231 battery electric vehicles across 28 European markets. Tesla registered 7,165. BYD beat Tesla by just 66 cars. That sounds tiny, and it was only 1 month, but symbolically, it was huge. BYD had only started aggressively expanding its European passenger car operation a few years earlier, and suddenly it was running past the company that practically defined the modern EV market. And BYD isn't betting everything on one Model 3 style hero car, Dolphin, Auto 3, Seal, Celian models, battery EVs, plug-in hybrids, different prices, different shapes, different customers. Europe then tried to slow Chinese BEVs with additional countervailing duties. BYD's Chinese-built BEVs received an additional 17% EU duty. So what did Chinese manufacturers do? They adapted. BYD pushed harder into plug-in hybrids, which weren't hit by the same BEV-specific duty structure. Reuters reported that BYD and other Chinese manufacturers sharply expanded PHEV sales after the tariffs arrived. That tells you something about the company Toyota chose to work with. BYD doesn't just build quickly, it changes direction quickly. Put a wall in front of the BEV strategy? Fine, bring the plug-in hybrid. And this is exactly the sort of speed traditional manufacturers are now trying to learn. Then you look at America and see almost the opposite story. BYD is becoming increasingly normal on European roads. But mass-market BYD passenger cars are still essentially absent from normal US showrooms. And the reason isn't that Americans drove the Seal and collectively decided they hated it. They've barely been given the opportunity. The United States has built enormous barriers around Chinese EVs, including very high tariffs, and its connected vehicle rules go even further. From model year 2027, US rules begin prohibiting connected vehicles from manufacturers sufficiently linked to China or Russia, as well as vehicles containing certain covered software. Hardware restrictions become even tighter later. So Europe and America are basically running two different experiments. Europe says, you can come in, but we'll make it more expensive. America increasingly says, we don't want this ecosystem entering the passenger car market in the first place. Same BYD, same technology, completely different market presence. And that matters because we often talk about which car company is winning, as if product quality alone decides everything. It doesn't. Regulation can completely change the race. And this is the part I find most interesting. 20 years ago, the badge told you a lot about where the important technology came from. Toyota, Japanese engineering, BMW, German, Ford, American. That picture is becoming much less useful. A Toyota BZ3 can involve Toyota vehicle engineering, a BYD-derived battery system, development work through a joint company in Shenzhen, and manufacturing through FAW Toyota. And it is still a Toyota. Future cars will be even more mixed. Battery from one company, software from another, driver assistance technology from a local specialist, semiconductors from somewhere else, final calibration and responsibility from the brand whose badge is on the bonnet. So maybe the companies that win the next decade won't be the companies that insist we must build everything ourselves. Maybe they'll be the companies smart enough to know what absolutely must remain ours and what somebody else already does better. Toyota looked at BYD and admitted, they're ahead of us here. That takes less ego than pretending otherwise, and it may have saved Toyota years. So did BYD beat Toyota? In some parts of EV technology and Chinese market speed, yes, Toyota clearly had catching up to do. But did Toyota surrender? Absolutely not. Toyota adapted. It used BYD technology where it needed an immediate answer, continued building cars with other Chinese partners, expanded its own Chinese development operation, and kept its enormous hybrid business running globally. Meanwhile, BYD got something Toyota cannot manufacture for it: credibility. In 2025, BYD sold more than 4.6 million new energy vehicles worldwide, with overseas sales exceeding 1 million. This is no longer a niche Chinese company Toyota is helping get started. It is one of the largest electrified vehicle manufacturers on Earth. That is why this deal matters. 20 years ago, Chinese manufacturers looked at Toyota and asked, how do we build cars like them? Today, Toyota can look at BYD and ask, how are you building EVs this quickly? That reversal tells you everything about how fast the industry has changed. And my final take is simple. Toyota working with BYD is not proof that Toyota became weak. It is proof that BYD became impossible to ignore, and Toyota was smart enough to notice before pride became more expensive than partnership. Do you see this as Toyota adapting at exactly the right moment, or as the first real sign that Chinese manufacturers have taken the technological lead? Write your thoughts in the comments, and don't miss out. Subscribe for more.